Have you ever just, looked at a situation and thought, how could they do that? Someone who seems okay doing something, well, not okay.
Hmm.
Today, we're going to dive into something called moral disengagement. We've got some really interesting research here that explores how people can kind of sidestep their own moral compass, often without feeling too bad about it.
Exactly. It's fascinating stuff, largely based on Albert Bandura's work. He talked about these psychological maneuvers we use. It's not like you suddenly become immoral.
Right.
It's more like you find ways to switch off your usual moral self-regulation just temporarily.
Okay, let's unpack that. Bandura listed 8 of these strategies.
That's right. 8 main mechanisms.
So the first one, euphemistic labeling. That sounds like using fancy words to cover things up.
Pretty much. Using sanitized language.
Oh.
Instead of killing civilians, it becomes collateral damage, or like you mentioned, a surgical strike. It softens the reality.
Makes it sound less awful.
It does. And interestingly, it can also make us see the victims differently, maybe view their suffering as less real, more abstract. Okay, what's next?
Moral justification. This is a big one. Framing a harmful act as serving some kind of higher purpose or noble cause.
Ah, the ends justify the means argument. We had to do it for the greater good.
Exactly. Then there's advantageous comparison.
How does that work?
Well, you compare your own questionable actions against something much worse. So maybe you say, okay, what we did wasn't great, but look how terrible they are. It makes your own actions seem almost trivial or even good by comparison.
Right. Makes you look better, relatively speaking. I can see that happening online, like all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Deflecting criticism by pointing fingers elsewhere. Then you've got displacement of responsibility.
I was just following orders. The Nuremberg defense, basically.
That's the classic example, yeah. Shifting the blame onto an authority figure.
And what about diffusion of responsibility? Is that similar? It's related, but slightly different. Diffusion is more about spreading responsibility across a group. Think of a group project where everyone assumes someone else will do the hard work.
Yeah, or like the bystander effect. If everyone's responsible, no one feels personally responsible to act.
Precisely. Group dynamics can really delete that sense of individual accountability. Next is disregarding or misrepresenting injurious consequences.
So basically ignoring or downplaying the harm you've caused, pretending it wasn't that bad.
Or just refusing to look at it, yeah.
Yeah.
Minimizing, denying the negative impact. Then we get to a really disturbing one. Dehumanization.
Seeing the victims as less than human.
Yes. Stripping them of human qualities. Thinking of them as savages or vermin or even just statistics. It makes it psychologically easier to harm them.
Even subtle labels can do that, can't they? Like referring to people as just a mob or something.
Absolutely. It erodes empathy. And the last one is attribution of blame.
Blaming the victim. They brought it on themselves or they deserved it.
Right. Shifting the fault onto the person who suffered the harm.
Wow. Okay, so these 8 things, they kind of work together, don't they? To let someone act against their own values without feeling, well, guilty.
They often do work in concert, yes. It's usually not just one mechanism at play. It allows for this gradual erosion of self-sanctions.
So how does this play out on a larger scale? You mentioned war, maybe corporate crime?
Well, in conflict situations, dehumanizing the enemy is a very common tactic you see in propaganda, for instance.
Makes sense. Harder to kill someone you see as fully human.
Exactly. And in the corporate world, you might see, say, financial fraud described using incredibly complex jargon that's euphemistic labeling, right? Obscuring the reality of the actions. Or diffusion of responsibility in large bureaucracies.
It really highlights the power of language, doesn't it? How narratives shape our moral engagement.
Immensely. Media, political rhetoric, they can all facilitate these disengagement processes by framing events and people in certain ways.
Does this connect to things like groupthink, where, the desire to fit in overrides your own judgment?
Oh, definitely. There's a strong potential link. Wanting to maintain group harmony or fearing exclusion can lead people to go along with unethical actions by using these disengagement strategies. They silence their own doubts.
So the big question then, can we fight this? Can knowing about moral disengagement help us, resist it?
That's the hope, and a key area for research. Awareness is likely the first step. If you can recognize these mechanisms in your own thinking or in the arguments of others, you might be better equipped to challenge them.
So education could potentially make a difference.
Potentially, yes. Building moral resilience involves understanding these psychological loopholes, and it ties back strongly to dehumanization and stereotyping, too. Negative stereotypes make it easier to morally disengage from the suffering of those groups.
Right, it lowers the barrier.
It does, and social psychologists study this through various experiments, trying to understand the conditions that make moral disengagement more or less likely.
Okay, so to sort of wrap this up, the core idea is that moral disengagement isn't about losing your morals, but finding these clever psychological detours around them when it's convenient or socially pressured.
That's a good way to put it. It allows us to act counter to our standards without the expected self-condemnation.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Leaves you wondering maybe about the small ways, the everyday justifications we might use. Could those little mental detours, add up over time and subtly shift our own moral landscape without us even realizing?
That's the really provocative question to consider, isn't it? How prevalent is this in our own lives?